motion to open the meeting.
Second.
Yeah, I had to log on an extra whole page with information, so I did that. I got a special code.
You don't actually have to use the special code for anything.
It's not, the board docs wasn't opening. I'll try again. I'm doing something wrong, I'm sure. You would know that I've been on a PC for 25 years, so. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
So this is the screen I'm getting when it
Yeah, you can
says
just-
self-registration,
Yeah.
and then I press login,
Yep.
and I did that.
No, it didn't. Click login again, it doesn't look like it took it, because it comes back and tells you, there you go. Now you can go to your board docs page.
Okay.
You just open another.
With the browser, I know, but I have to, I have it on my desktop,
Oh, okay.
so just do this.
There
Here we
you
go. Thanks, sorry about that, guys.
Yes.
She is today.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, I just asked her to make sure we had a copy too.
How many things?
No, I got it.
I got it.
Thanks.
Okay, that's unanimous.
Yeah, 'cause I think we.
It's funny.
All right, let's stand for the pledge. We already have somebody here. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Alright, so, although we were gonna go originally right into executive session, we do have someone here for public input, so we'll have a quick public input before we go into executive session. So, please state your name. You
Kevin
have
Martin.
3 minutes, and just make sure you don't mention any students, individuals' names about who you're talking about.
Okay. Hi, my name is Kevin Martin. I, along with several other middle school parents, would like to try and see if we could get access to the gym on Sundays for open gym for sports for the kids during the winter. It's too cold and rainy and wet outside, and there's sometimes nothing for them to do. So, we want to try and see if we can get access.
There's a facilities use form online
Okay?
that anyone can fill out in the public, and you submit it, and then it goes to the right party that oversees it, and they'll get back to you.
Okay?
So, I think it's pretty easy to find.
Okay.
But if he's, Jeff, he's talking about a bigger thing about like trying to like have it, the gym open, during the winter
Ed used
months.
to do that.
You see stuff on the form
Used to
out
have
there.
weekend open gym.
But the form would be for a specific date, right? Not
No,
for.
it can be for a series of dates. At least in the past, people did it for a series of dates, whether it was meetings or gym.
But correct me if I'm wrong. I think what you're talking about is, wouldn't it be great if we could like every Saturday and
Yeah,
Sunday?
Saturday, Sunday, yeah,
No,
open, yeah.
right.
Yeah.
So you would
Yeah.
do a form and say, can you open the gym every Saturday and Sunday from November
Yeah,
to March?
because then the form also indicates what you might need, whether it's insurance, it asks you all sorts of questions, and that's how it's processed, unless I'm wrong, but that's how it's been handled in the
That's
past.
what they used to do with the yard program on
Mhm.
Friday nights. So
Yeah.
they would reserve the gymnasium for several months at a time.
Right,
Okay. Because I think it's a
I
great
think it's a good idea.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Because then the good thing is that if the other things are scheduled, the person that gets that form has that master schedule and knows if there's anything that's scheduled or not, so then they can give you real feedback versus, we have no idea what's scheduled at a time. I love the idea, but I have no idea if things are booked or not.
Sure. And the form is readily available. Like where would we
Yeah, it's
find
right.
it?
I know
So
that
if-
it's
Yes.
in our policy.
If you go under menu, under district,
It's on there.
and you scroll down to community, it's facilities use schedule.
Okay, open to,
Yes, get
But
that
great
in.
idea.
okay, great.
It's great.
Okay, very good, thank you so much. Have a great
Thank
night.
you.
Bye-bye.
Alright, can I get a motion to convene into executive session for a variety of things, to meet with legal counsel, to discuss the employment of a particular person. I think that covers it.
So moved.
Second. Nothing is popped up on my screen.
I don't know, everybody else.
Now I got it. I got it now.
Okay, that's unanimous, thank you.
Are we staying here or moving to another room?
I think we'll stay here.
We already did the pledge, so, I would think we can just go right ahead to, start. Yep, we'll have another public input,
Just trying to make sure.
so if there's anybody here for public input,
Is there anybody here for public input?
okay, please come up. Mary. State your name. Please state your name, you have 3 minutes, and please do not mention any individual students or teachers at issue of any kind of.
No, I won't do that, but can I move this just because I have to read and I don't have such good
Yeah, if you understand.
vision? So I need to spread my, can I just close
Yeah.
it?
I think, or,
Okay, thanks. Good evening, my name is Marianne Quezada, and I live in North Haven. And tonight I come to you with a request to correct an omission that's been in place for about 20 years now. It has to do with the large wall plaque in Pearson's entry hall. Installed in recognition of the successful completion of the largest expansion project in the district's history, I think it was originally $14 million plus, it lists the names of the architects, construction managers, school board members, superintendents involved in the planning, design, and construction. One name is missing, Bob Schneider, my late husband. Bob became Pearson's principal in 1994, having spent 25 years in education as a history teacher, curriculum specialist, school administrator, and program designer. He was well known in the field of education as he served as president of the New York State chapter of ASCD, the Association for Supervision and Curriculum Development, and also served on their national board of directors. We bought our house in Sag Harbor, and we made it our home. The Sag Harbor community has always wanted what's best for our children. The sense of history, the love of tradition, and the dedication to purpose is as strong today as it was 100 years ago. Bob was the kind of guy who recognized this and knew what needed to be done. When he first began here, the curriculum and instruction program was vastly different than it is today. For example, there was only one advanced placement class, AP English, that's it. There was no real library or science labs or art studios or music rooms. There was no middle school gym, middle school wing, or cafeteria, or courtyard, and there were far fewer classrooms. Working with team members of teachers and parents and administrators, board members and superintendents, Bob provided the vision of what the community needed to prepare our kids for a future that we can't even imagine. The vision became a reality by communicating with local constituent groups, American Legion, churches, senior citizens. Bob and his team literally took their show on the road, and in the end, they met with hundreds of residents. The bond passed, the building was constructed, the instructional program expanded, and the students flourished. It wouldn't have happened without Bob's leadership. He was quiet, sincere, gentle, kind, and ethical. He led by example. It's not unusual that during such a large multi-year project that staff changes. Bob was there at the beginning as principal and Jeff Nichols at its conclusion. They worked together in the middle. Other districts list both principals. It happened to me in West Hampton Beach when I was a principal there and I opened a building that had been under construction. Both the principals' names were there. Jeff's name belongs on there as well. Each time he returned to school after retirement, he wrote his name on a tiny yellow Post-it and he placed it on the plaque. I'll place this one there for him tonight. I'm asking you to please put his name on that plaque as an enduring reminder that Bob, along with the others listed, changed Pearson for the better. He needs more than a yellow Post-it. Thanks.
thank you. Anyone else for public input? Please come on up.
Good evening. I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak to you tonight. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Peter Solo. For the last 19 years, I've been a member of the faculty of Pearson Middle and High School. However, tonight I'm here to speak to you as a former member of the Board of Education and the chairman of the Facility Needs Committee that successfully passed the bond responsible for the construction of the expansion of Pearson facility completed in 2003. It is a construction project that remains to this day the largest in the history of our district that had, without a doubt, the most profound transformative effect on our schools since the original Pearson building was built in 1907. You sit in a library that was part of the project, a library that is more than 3 times the size of the then existing library. The project also provided our school with new science wing, general purpose classrooms, designated music and art rooms, and a second gym, cafeteria, computer rooms, and significant renovations to the existing facility. The person as responsible as any for the passage of the bond and for the associated transformation of our school's educational program, a transformation that continues today under Mr. Nichols' leadership, was former principal of our high school, Robert Schneider. Bob's efforts were not only critical to the passage of the construction bond, but were instrumental in the developing the architectural program, which addressed the needs of the educational program and were at the foundation of the construction. Not only did I witness Bob tirelessly for years work to educate the community about the needs for the addition, but attended countless meetings with him, Board Member Jerry Warwick and Superintendent John Barnes, meetings with community groups and parents to garner their support for the project. I have no doubt that without Bob's effort, the construction bond would have failed. It is in this context that I need your help to rectify an unfortunate injustice. Inside the Pearson Division Street entrance is a plaque commemorating the completion of the 2003 edition. On the plaque are names of board members, administrators. Bob's name is omitted. Tradition and practice suggest that Bob's name should be placed on the plaque. In the Pearson Commons, the area adjacent to the main office, there's another plaque commemorating the construction project in 1982. It includes the names of Board of Education, superintendents, and the name of the then Pearson principal, whose name coincidentally was Stephen Schneider. It is only fitting that Bob's name be included on the 2003 plaque. And I'm asking for the board to approve for a new plaque to be created, modeled on the existing plaque, using the same materials, a plaque that would include Bob's name. As you may know, Bob passed away several years ago. While alive, even in retirement, he remained actively engaged in the district. Often when he would visit the school, he would place a post-it. He would place a post-it on the plaque, as Marianne mentioned. This was in part a reflection of his sense of humor, but also, I believe, his disappointment that his contribution had been forgotten. This is the essential point. The Pearson facility is a tangible manifestation of Bob's contribution to the school. However, more important than buildings, program, and curriculum, the quality of a school is shaped by its people, their aspirations, their passions, and fortitude. Bob loved our community, loved our school, and most importantly, believed in the almost limitless potential of our students. His positive influence in our school is immeasurable. By placing his name on the commemorative plaque, we not only honor him, but also ourselves. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak at public input? Please come on up.
Good evening. My name is Walter Theis, and if it's similar to somebody sitting here, it's because she's my daughter.
I've never seen you before.
I'm standing here not because I have a daughter on the Board of Ed, but despite that. I'm standing here because I remember quite distinctly the quality of the work that Bob Schneider gave to this district. I happen to know more than most parents because I was sitting in your seat at the time. of fact, I was president of the Board of Education during that time. I have never gone to another meeting where a name was coming up to be honored. But when I heard Bob Schneider was being honored, I thought, well, God, they really got it right. Because he was a quality person with a great sense of humor. And he did wonderful things for this district. And of course, when history is over, I hate to tell you this, but they'll forget your name if you're on the Board of Ed, etc. And that's good, in a sense. But this is a name we should not forget. And it's a very simple thing you're asking you to consider tonight. And it's something that will not only honor Bob Schneider, but will honor this district for remembering him. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else here to speak at public input?
I am. Hi, Sandi Krell. I am going to read a letter from Catherine Holden, who was the superintendent from July 1st, 1999 until August of 2009. As the principal of Pearson Middle High School, Bob Schneider played an integral role in all decisions relating to the building renovations in the late 1990s. Bob was an outstanding educator and student advocate. At all the planning meetings with the architects, construction companies, and community members, it was always Bob who insisted that all decisions related to the building project should be driven by student needs and best educational research and practices. Bob was a driving force in these renovations and deserves recognition for his contribution for creating a better learning environment for the students of Sag Harbor. He took Pearson to the next level of excellence during his tenure, and I'm honored to have worked with him. That's from Catherine Holden. I personally was on the PTA when this entire project started, and I personally was wrangled in by Bob Schneider and Peter Solo to work with the community because they were unable to pass a bond for the elementary school. And it wasn't until there was a board meeting that a piece of glass fell from the ceiling that the board agreed to put up a mere $4 million renovation to fix the elementary school. As you're smiling because you remember that. So this was going to be a really challenge to go out to the district for a double-digit $1 million bond. And Bob Schneider literally would hold what now is the athletic office, which is where your board meetings were held, because there was no library. It was on the second floor in a classroom. He was the driving force. How his name was omitted from that, it was obviously a serious mistake. It was not done on purpose, and I also believe one of the board members' names is spelled incorrectly. So I'm here to say that I was there from the beginning. I know the history, and if it wasn't for that man, Peter Solo, the community members, Leah Oppenheimer, people that you guys probably, don't know, their kids have long graduated, their grandchildren may be coming in soon, who knows. But those were the driving forces to give our kids an educational classroom that met the expectations of what the district needed. And so I'm gonna end with this. We've all said what a great man he is. There's no denying that, nobody can deny that. I would like to know before I leave tonight, because we have a tendency of hearing it and not saying how we're going to implement it. So I would like to hear a discussion at least of what your next steps would be and moving forward to get this taken care of sooner rather than later. Thank you for your time.
Thanks. And we have an unfinished business section or items for discussion at the end of our meeting, so we can always, if we want to, we can discuss it further then. Is there anybody else here that is for public input that would like to speak? All right, so let's move on to action item 5.1, approve health insurance benefits for eligible employees. Can I get a motion to approve action item 5.1?
So moved.
Second.
Sorry, my connection's been lost, so we've got to log back on.
Okay.
make a comment before we finish voting?
Sure.
Which is just that, because I inquired about it, so it might be helpful for other people, that the law requires certain levels of insurance offered to employees that work a certain amount in the district, and this is to be in compliance with that.
Okay, that's unanimous.
Great. So moving on to items for discussion, Jeff is gonna give us a brief update on Sag Harbor Learning Center. We're gonna have a more fulsome update next week from IBI Group and from Lori Baum in our finance department, but we're gonna give some
Sure.
overview.
So, Mr. Malone and I spoke to IBI Architects regarding the status of the Learning Center, and specifically when they anticipated that the Learning Center would be suitable for Sag Harbor or for us to occupy it. They stated that it would be done this month. We asked for some further clarification on what does it mean for it to be suitable for occupation. Would there be punch list items, those types of things? The architect from IBI stated that the punch list would be available sometime in mid to late December, so another week or two. And at that time, they would provide a more thorough explanation as to what needed to be addressed within that list. The second item that we discussed was the retaining wall behind the school, and specifically, we were asking, Matt and I asked about the amount of time it would take from, if the district were to decide to build the wall, how long it would take from issuing or designing a request for proposal till the completion of construction, and the best estimate was that that would take a total of 4 months, which would put us in late March, early April, for the wall to be done.
Anyone wanna weigh in on any of this, or wait till next week till we have one more?
I've got some questions, but
Sure.
some of them relate to the party. I do have a couple of questions. There were personnel hired specifically because we were theoretically opening the building this school year, which obviously that's been delayed. So I think we need to have a conversation to revisit that, because we're incurring unnecessary costs in personnel.
Yeah, I believe it's a nurse and a security guard. Is there
Mhm.
anybody else that you're aware of?
I think that's it, but I don't know if other people have been hired that I'm
Are we
unaware of.
paying also the parking lot rent?
Yeah, but we're contractually obligated to do that, even though, and we're told that it was necessary for some of the work staff to park there, so. So anyway, just, if we've got ongoing costs that are unnecessary to incur, I think it's our fiduciary responsibility to at least evaluate that.
Yeah, I know, Matt, did you wanna weigh in? I think the security guard at least has
Yeah,
not been working.
I guess just clarification, so upon the thought that the building was gonna open in September, we did hire the school nurse, which was, something that we had all agreed upon. When that did not open, that nurse remained a part of our staff, and has been working in both of the buildings currently. We did also have the discussion about having security at the Learning Center, and eventually we will. At this time, we added a security guard, but only in a substitute capacity
Okay.
when needed at either building. So that would have been needed anyway. It just happens that we added a additional person to our team.
Okay.
And it sounds like even though perhaps in a different circumstance, maybe we would not have hired the additional nurse at the time,
Correct.
it couldn't have come at a more fortuitous time, given that we had the elementary school nurse retiring, so we had to get people up to speed, and we had all this compliance obligations with respect to immunizations that came into play, so it actually was, if there was a time to have additional hands on deck, it was a good time to have that.
It's been a real help.
Alright, so moving on to the daycare RFP, you want to give an update on that?
Yeah, so I can just update the board briefly. We have started with the support of district council drafting an RFP, which essentially is going to be seeking, a tenant, a daycare provider that would become a tenant in the learning center to provide a daycare option that would be I guess some of the keys in the drafted document right now are a daycare option for, first, the residents of the district who have 4-year-olds that are a part of our pre-K. Just for clarification, our pre-K is a half-day program, so there are many families that seek daycare to complete the day so that their child's covered while they're at work. So we're looking to meet that need with a certified provider that will offer a safe option and an affordable option for the families, because that's, you know, in the research that we've done over the years and speaking with the families, that's what they're looking for. So that's where the document kind of stands right now in draft form, and we're working through the details with Mr. Bowles and his group.
Great, thank you.
So
Anyone?
just a question, so the RFP is for nursery, complementary to
It's not
the other.
nursery, it's daycare.
Daycare.
No, yeah, daycare, for
Daycare.
the other half day of like the pre-K, or is it gonna start, you mentioned from like 8 to 4?
So complementary in the sense that if a parent of a 4-year-old sent their child to our pre-K, just roughly say that runs from 8 to 11, just for the discussion. From then 11 to 5, the daycare would be offered in the same building, and the parent would then pay for that.
Okay.
So either the morning or afternoon, it's supplemented.
So if in the future we wanted to transition to full day pre-K, then we wouldn't need that daycare anymore?
Possibly, if that's a route the district took, then one thought would be maybe then that would then offer a service to parents of 3-year-olds. If we had the space and the provider was in a good relationship with us, maybe that's something that we discuss.
We have talked, when moving over there, and when pre-K first came up, we had that conversation about why not full day? And there's all these kind of legal and logistical reasons why.
No, I wasn't part of the board at that point, so.
Yeah, no,
yeah, I
I'm
don't
just
know
saying,
about it.
yeah, that just.
But my thought was always, why not offer it? But,
Because
yeah.
the facility has to be different, you have to have a lunchroom, they have to be able to take naps, there's like all these different things that
Sure.
when you're in a half day, you don't have to do, so that was kind of, just, the brain wrestle around that
I
originally.
know, but by offering like, the daycare, then we have to have AC and other stuff that we
Yeah.
also didn't need, so.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, no, I think it sounds like a great starting point, and then we can see where we take it
See
from
where
there.
it goes.
Some of us are a lot closer to those pre-K daycare
Years, right?
PTSD. So,
Can I
And
ask
costs.
a related, since the first two topics were about the Learning Center, can I just ask a related question? Initially, when this was rolled out, in the initial stages, there was a talk about it being also the facility being revenue generating. We've had almost no conversation about that in the past 12 months. But as we are talking about the completion of the building, it may not be opening next month, but the completion of it, I would encourage us to, maybe it's a workshop, but I would do that sooner versus later, because if there are opportunities, sometimes they take a while to come to fruition, and it would be great to explore that, to know whether we can get some money out of the building as well.
yeah,
Does
I
that
think,
make sense?
yeah, that makes total sense, and I think we did start to have that conversation earlier in the year. I think we gave the direction to the policy committee to begin looking at revisiting some of the facilities use policies to see what we have to look at in order to account for Stella Maris, to see if there's any of Sag Harbor Learning Center, to see if there's kind of anything there that we need to think about for
Right.
revenue generation purposes. And I think it was like on the short list of things after we get through one or two other things.
But I think regardless of the policy, I mean, to me, there's a legal question. What can or you can't do legally? You can always adjust the policy to reflect what, reflect that. But we've heard in the past, when this was pitched, because I pulled out the presentations, there were always ideas that were discussed that just haven't been vetted out from a business opportunity standpoint, separate from a policy standpoint. So I would just encourage us to do that this calendar, this school year,
Yep.
and not wait till next summer to say, oh my gosh, let's start talking
Yeah,
about
I
it.
think we have it on our list to have
A
an open
workshop?
forum for people that are interested in utilizing the space at some point. I think originally when we thought the building was gonna open sooner, we were gonna have it in the fall, but now
Yeah.
that things have been delayed, it didn't seem as pressing, but
Okay.
yes, sometime in the spring, I think, makes sense. All right, if there's nothing else, so then action item for discussion 6.3 is just a communications update, which was really that it came to my attention recently that we contract with Syntax for our press releases and a lot of our public relations matters, and a lot of school districts in our area do that as well. And it came to my attention that the way the press receives information from Syntax differs from our district versus others, in the sense that they're getting a lot more timely information and press-ready information from other districts than ours. And so in learning that, I had a conversation with Syntax saying, what do you guys need from us in order to get you more information timely? And they said, so they sent us a proposal, which I forwarded to Jeff on Friday, which is to kind of take a snapshot of having every month have a certain theme for the elementary, middle, and high school, so that they can then approach each, just teachers that are relevant to that theme to try to get information so that we can get these lovely people here who take notes at our meetings and are just trying to, you know, showcase what we do offer in this district, a little more timely information. So just wanted to provide that update, especially since one of our board goals was to improve our communications efforts. So I think you were gonna take a quick look at, you know, the proposal, but then run with it and see where we go with it, right?
Yeah, I think it's a good idea. Anything that increases the amount of information and the frequency with which we can get it out is a good thing.
There was also a recommendation by the committee years ago, and then by Katie more recently, about having somebody who worked as a communication coordinator, it might be part-time, but who was more on point and better within in the district itself, to be able to make sure that communication was getting pulled and provided, and would be more active in the communication. So when we go to budget season, I would request that we reflect on those recommendations and see if it makes sense to make that investment.
Great. So there's nothing else, so we wanna talk about the plaque, and revising a plaque. I have no idea how much it costs to do a plaque, but I have no objection to correcting an omission in a plaque, so I don't know if anyone else has any thoughts on.
I would like to make a formal motion that we replace the plaque and include all the names that should be included, including Mr. Smith.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion?
Would there be any reason not to do it, or is there?
Doesn't sound like it.
No, and in other districts like West Hampton, as was cited, you have the name of both that were there during their tenure. I'm guessing, I wasn't on the board at the time, and as a note, in my 9.5 years on the board, it's the first time my father has ever been in the room when I've been here, so this just goes to show how important it is to many people in the community. But I see no reason. It's, you know, it can't be that big an expense, so that's why I made the motion.
I would expect we added one or two names to that.
There's Mr. Snyder, and I would hope that we would correct a misspelled name if there's one on there. I don't know if there was anyone else that was omitted.
And when was this plaque put up?
Mr. Nichols.
That's what I was
Mr.
asking.
Nichols' name.
Oh, his name was already on there. We would keep the same name.
No, it's not.
No,
He's
Jeff's
not
is
on
not.
there.
No, but.
Oh, it should be on there.
Well, in fairness, really, the majority of the legwork for this was really Bob. You know, I came on and the hard work was already done, so for me, the priority should be putting his name on. I don't need to be there. I think he deserves all of the credit for that, and I'm fine with that.
Yeah. I think if we're gonna follow recommended protocol, we would include both of you personally, but.
So I would just amend your motion.
Yes.
Correct the misspelling.
Oh,
of
and add
both
the
names.
two names of the principals that were here during that journey.
Yep.
Makes sense to me. Victoria, do you wanna do this first via board docs, or do you want us to?
If we can just do it by hand. I have Chris Theis motioned and Ryan DeSessa second to add Mr. Schneider and Mr. Nichols and correct the name that is misspelled on the original plaque.
Yeah, so we'd be replacing the original plaque with a new one that had all these names.
And everything else, same material, right?
Yeah, I would.
Yeah, same sign, just corrected.
All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thanks for coming this evening.
Don't be a stranger.
Is there anyone here for public input too?
I do have a couple of questions from just what was just said. So, we're talking about that Syntax is unable to get the material to the newspapers? I think that's what you said, I could be wrong.
It wasn't a syntax issue. It was more like we weren't providing syntax with timely information to get out.
Are we still paying for 2 communication specialists?
No.
So they were in the
The
budget last year?
stipend, I believe, was not
Yeah,
I was in the budget last year, I know that the coordinator stipend was taken and put into another line, but I believe that there was still one from each building. I could be wrong, could be out, I'm asking, I don't need eyes, I'm just asking the question if it's in or it's out.
We will
That's all I'm
believe it.
asking.
I believe
And
it's
if you
in the
don't know the
perspective.
answer, that's fine, you can get back to me on it.
We will
I'm
get
just
back to
asking.
you,
We'll
so
get back
that
to
we
you.
can
Great.
get you an increase.
Great, thank you.
Anybody else for public input? All right, with that, can I get a motion to reconvene into executive session to finish all of the discussions that we were not
So
able to get
moved.
to during the first?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.